May the words of my mouth and meditation of our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. This parable has always been one that's troubled me for several reasons, and most of them are not the moral implications of it. I was a lawyer before I became a priest, so I look at this and I'm thinking the legal side of things. What were these tenants thinking that they could kill the son and somehow gain the inheritance? Didn't they know how this was going to end up? It's always struck me is their motivations they just elude me. I don't understand what they were thinking. It sounds like they had a pretty good deal going. The owner had gone to another country and left them in charge, so they could run things however they wanted to. They could, be growing what kind of grapes they wanted. They could be making what kind of wine they wanted, and all the owner wanted at the end was his share. And so he sent people, and we hear, they beat the first one, then the second one they beat him and insulted him, literally adding insult to injury. And the third one they killed, and then they go through this whole cycle until they kill the son. And we can see direct parallels there with the prophets. Clearly, this is Jesus talking about the nation of Israel and the people of God prior to his coming and what's going to come. The prophets, some were turned out on their ears, some were listened to, some were beaten and insulted, some were killed. And we know what's going to happen to the son. So, if the slaves being sent and the son being sent are the prophets being sent, we have to put ourselves into the position of the tenants. We're the ones being accused of turning away the rightful owners, those in power over us to come and claim their due share. But at the same time, we're also to blame because we, humans, have been given this free reign. The owner went off to another country. God is here, but not directly telling us what to do. We can grow the kind of grapes we want. We can make the kind of wine we want. And all he asks is that when he comes, we give him his due. And I'm sure we try to, but I'm sure most of the time we fail to do that. In small ways and large. I don't think we're probably turning away people and hitting them over the head, but I think in some ways we do that, probably without even realizing it. Because just like I wonder about the motivation of the tenants, I'm sure God sits there and wonders at our own motivations. What do we think we're going to get by doing the things that don't align with what he's asked us to do? What do we think we're going to gain by making these decisions that harm ourselves, harm others, harm God's creation? So we're not any different from those tenants. We need to look at our own motivations and say, what do we want out of it? Especially when we realize that we've done something that doesn't accord with what we're supposed to do. I know I've done it. You do something, you're like, why did I do that? Why did I speak to that person that way? Why did I react that way? Why did I not help when I had the opportunity? And you look at it, and it just doesn't make sense, but that's part of being human. So we can't escape it, but I think we need to be aware of it and continue to analyze it and be on the watch for that. And I think this is particularly interesting given the Peter reading too, because this is the end of the second letter, and he's talking about leading lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for and hastening the coming day of God. And he says we should give thanks for God's patience. So there's waiting and there's patience involved. And maybe that's what the motivation is here for both the tenants and for us just generally as humans, is we're impatient. And so when we're told to wait and abide and know that things will come in due time, we get anxious and we get disruptive. I know my kids always did this. If you left them alone too long without something to do, they would start getting destructive and breaking things and getting into things. That's what we do. And so when we become impatient, that's when we start saying, well, I want it to get here faster. I want to take shortcuts. I don't want to wait for God's time. I want it on my time. And if I do these things, if I beat this slave and insult him, if I kill the son, then maybe I will get that inheritance that I think I deserve earlier and without having to exercise patience. That may or may not be the motivation of the tenants, and it may or may not be the motivation that we have in every given time that we misstep. But I think it's a window into that, and it's some form of that. And so if we just take the time to wonder and turn that eye, that we look at the tenants and say, man, they're despicable. What are they thinking? But we use that as a mirror and turn it to ourselves and say, what was I thinking? What are we thinking? Then we can begin to cultivate that life of faith and patience that Peter is encouraging in us. To God be all the glory, now and forever. Amen.
If this message raised questions or stirred something in you, I'd love for you to stay connected. So like, share, and subscribe. Now go in peace to love and serve the Lord, and I'll see you next time.